Okay, so one of the most common questions I get asked by artists is, what is the process like? What happens if you have a demo tune or a voice note or something and you want to work with us to make it into a finished track? So what I'm going to do is take you through exactly what we did with Devil in Disguise by Tony Pacheco. We'll go into the projects, I'll show you all the different sessions, and we'll talk about what we did and how we progressed from round to round. All right, let's get into it.
Move on, baby, you can call me crazy. Don't wanna play the fiddle, it's a devil in disguise. So go home, lady, pray to God to save me. I will never take you back, won't ever want you back.
So this is the demo track that Tony sent me. Now, Tony is clearly pretty advanced already. He knows how to work Logic. He knows how to do all the stuff. The song itself is fully, fleshed out with different sections and different ideas. We've got lead vocal recordings, we got backing vocal recordings, and we got horns. So yeah, Tony's already pretty advanced, and which is awesome. We love this sort of stuff, but don't be afraid. You don't have to be like this. You can just send us a voice note from a phone, and the process will be, really similar. Or if you can play your song on guitar and sing it, or piano and sing it, or anything like that. Anyway, let's get back to this. So Tony has used stock Logic instruments, including drummer, which is a really cool thing. So I'll just give you a little play of how it sounds right now.
Roll back the curtains and see what's left behind. Running round in circles with nothing left to find. All that you want is to still look me in the eye. You call me crazy, guess you out of your mind. Coming back for more as if you thought my heart was blind. You wanted everything about me to change. While you were going out and taking home some strange. You hurt me through the night. Now I can never sleep, can't count on counting sheep. Not holding on to you, can't carry all that weight of feeling all this hate. Smooth.
So yeah, you can hear songs fully there. It's all fleshed out. A lot of different instruments are there. He has used exclusively Logic stock instruments, including Logic Drummer, which if you've never played with that is pretty cool. Logic Bass, Logic guitar amps, and he's recorded some vocals and stuff like that. So one of the first things we always do to make sure we're on the same page moving forward is get a list of reference tracks, songs that the artist likes, that they kind of want their music to, be in the same realm of. It's not about copying a song exactly or anything like that, but it's more like you want your song to feel like it would fit in a playlist of these other songs, And it could be like, hey, I really like the vocal tone of this, or I really like the guitar part of this, or I like the drum sound, or I even like how the song just makes me feel, So it could be really vague, it could be really specific, but it's super important as a first step. Now, with this track, as you can probably hear already, like it's a modern funk, a little bit disco maybe. So we were leaning towards artists like Cory Wong and Cody Fry, Wolfpack, that kind of world of music. Once we'd figured that out and I heard the demo, to me the next step is replacing what we have already with just higher quality sounds and figuring out how we can improve the groove, maybe see what elements we could add, what elements we could take out. So I'll show you exactly what we did. So I don't actually normally work in Logic myself, but because Tony works in Logic and I can use Logic, it made sense for me to continue in the same project so I could send it back to him, and if he wanted to add anything extra or take stuff away, he could. But one of the first things we did was replace the drum kit with better samples, and I also played it on my electric kit. So I'll give you a snippet of what that sounds like. Here's the original drums for the verse. And here's the first round of drums that I replaced it with. So, the groove's pretty much the same, but the drum sound is better, and we've added some percussion as well. The other thing was the bass tone and the bass performance. That's super important, especially for funk music. So here's the original. and here is what we replaced it with. So I should say at this point that these performances and these sounds are not set in stone. This is basically me in the studio playing around, trying to find improvement on like vibes and grooves, but it's all kind of messy at this point. So I don't think much of this actually made it into the final version, but it was more like, here's the vibe I'm going for. What do you think? And then I sent it back to Tony and he gave me notes and then we moved forward from there. I wanted to add some more like harmonic content to the verses just to fatten it up a bit. So I added some keys. Which was a Rhodes patch and like a classic digital keyboard. Put that together. And that's how that sounds. Now, as we had a lot of Cory Wong songs in our reference playlist, we wanted to maybe play around with some of his like, funk guitar kind of stuff. And this was Tony's suggestion. He was like, can we add some funk guitar? And I was like, all right, let's try it. So this is what came up with in the first round, which was just doubling the bass. But then later, we also did some of the classic. That's rough. It's rough, but in context, you can kind of get the idea. And there's also a bunch of stuff that didn't make it in, like these pulse chords that I added. I don't know what I was thinking. But they didn't make it into the final one. And a lot of the stuff didn't. But again, it was just about vibes. And I only did the verse 1 to the beginning of verse 2. Because at this point, it's like, yeah, I could do the whole song, but if I send it back to you and you don't like it, then we both wasted our time, So it's like a little snippet of like, hey, do you like this kind of vibe? What sort of stuff do you want me to maybe cut, add? And that was production round 1. Okay, so now we are into production round 2. This is after I've sent Tony the first round, and he sent me feedback, and we've talked about it a little bit. In this round, I've fleshed out the whole song. So we did the new grooves and some new elements from start to finish. But I think the biggest one here was actually changing the arrangement a little bit, specifically the intro. So originally from the demo, the intro was a bit of a slow build, and it was like the drums and bass with a guitar riff, maybe like 4 bars or 8 bars or something, and then the horn section came in, and that was another 8 bars, and then it went into the verse, which was cool. But during the process of playing around with this and listening to it 100 times, it felt like we could be a little bit more impactful. And I realized that part of the chorus was actually one of my favorite parts of the whole song. So I was like, what happens if we chuck that in the very beginning? And that's what we ended up doing. But I sent him this and I was like, hey, what do you think of this? And this is what that sounded like.
And see what's left behind.
So if you know the final song, which I hope you do, have a listen to it, Devil in Disguise by Tony Pacheco. That's pretty close to how the final version ended up sounding. So what else did we do? We added some other elements. We also changed the beginning of verse 2, added a little stop and a break there, which at this point sounded like this.
There's never been a girl before I judged so wrong. I Can't believe I'm wasting time giving her a song. For anybody out there,
Added this organ. It's pretty cool.
harassing say
But yeah, so obviously pretty rough, but again, it's like, that's the idea. What do you think of it? And added some guitars, added some heavy guitars, playing around with that. We solidified some of these Cory Wong style options. Again, the performances are a little rough, but it's more like the idea is there. And I think I changed around some of his horn parts. Yes, that's right. So cut them all up and then made them into like specific sections, played with some panning, played with some EQ, just made it a little bit more cohesive. But this is all the stuff that he recorded at home. Like I didn't add any extra horns or anything like that. And same thing with the backing vocals, just tidied them up a little bit. And at this point, I think I also asked Tony to record more backing vocals because he recorded the vocals and horns at home. And one thing I love doing with backing vocals is having doubles or triples or even quadruples. But this track, we just needed doubles. So that way I could pan one here and pan one here. And it just makes the backing vocals sound thicker. So that's one thing we can do during this process. Like if there's an element that needs to be redone on your end or changed on your end, I can be like, hey, what do you think of this? Maybe try it, chuck it back to me, and we'll see how we go. And so that's really fun too. It's very collaborative. We also properly started playing with the bridge. I wanted to make it a little bit more tension-y and a little bit more interesting so it could resolve nicely into the chorus. So we just changed the harmonic content, added some more elements, and then made the bass line a pedal instead of following the regular chord progression, which sounds like this. Oh, hey, look at that. Computer can't handle it.
hurt me through the night. Now I can never sleep. Can't count on counting sheep. Not holding on to you. Can't carry all the weight of feeling all this hate. Just move on, baby. You can call me crazy. Don't wanna play the fiddle.
We've still got these pulse chords, which didn't make it to the end.
Save me. I'll never
I'm not sure if that made it in either.
want you.
But yeah, so after round 2, we have the full song fleshed out in like a elevated demo state, I guess you could call it. Everything's still open to be changed, but the idea from here is like, are you happy with how this whole thing is fitting together, what the vibe is like? Because the next step for me is to basically re-record everything and make it the finalized version, which we can then move into mixing. So let's go to round 3. Okay, round 3 of production. This is more or less the finished track before mixing. So all the performances are put in place. There still needs to be a little bit of editing done, but as we're here, I think I've already edited some of the vocals and the horns and stuff like that. So when you get round 3 back, if we get to round 3, sometimes, look, it doesn't need to take 3 rounds. Sometimes it can be done in 1. Sometimes maybe it needs 5. Who knows? We're all about the song, and we're all about making sure that everyone's happy along the way. You got to be stoked with it. I got to be stoked with it. That's the only way to do music. That's the only way, I think. So let's have a listen to the intro here.
Roll back the curtains and see what's left behind. Running round in circles with nothing left to find. All that you want is to catch me in a lie, while you go behind my back, still look me in the eye. You call me crazy, yet it's you out of your mind. Coming back for more as if you thought my heart were blind. You wanted everything about me to change, while you were going out and
Yeah, man. But as you can hear, that's sounding way more legit. Like the performances, I re-recorded everything, did it properly, and it's sounding real cool. Still needs to be mixed, obviously, so the balance and everything, yeah, it sounds a bit thin, but just ignore that for now. One really fun thing I was pretty happy with, as I've mentioned, a lot of the reference tracks were like Cory Wong golf pick style stuff, and he actually has his own sample pack of things built into Logic. So I found those and we chucked them in there. So we had some of the man himself. They sound like this. You know, it's a little bit silly, but it's also really cool, I think, to have the essence of the man himself in the track. So that was a fun thing we added. Oh, we got all of the BV doubles, and I edited that. Oh, shit.
Move on, baby, you can call me crazy. Don't wanna play the fiddle with some devil in disguise. So go home, lady, pray to God he'll save me. I will never take you back, won't ever want you back, no.
And then started doing some editing and mixing to the lead vocal.
Just move on, baby, you can call me crazy. Don't wanna play the fiddle with some devil in disguise. So go home.
So you can hear there's a fair bit of like background noise and stuff in that, which for this particular track is actually totally fine. You can't hear it in the...
Just move on, baby, you can call me crazy. Don't wanna play the...
And stuff like that can happen when you're recording at home. I also like to help you through the recording process. So if I hear something like that that's a problem, I'll be like, hey, maybe redo this bit, and I can show you, you know, how to get the most out of your recording at home. But we can talk about that later. But like, I love to be involved for the whole process, basically. Oh yeah, and we got some doubles of the lead vocals here, which I asked them to do. The bridge is sounding pretty cool at this point.
Hurt me through the night. Now I can never sleep. Can't count on counting sheep. Not holding on to you. Can't carry all the weight of feeling all this hate. You hurt me through the night. Now I can never sleep. Can't count on counting sheep. Not holding on to you. Can't carry all the weight of feeling all this hate. Just move on, baby. You can call me crazy. Don't wanna play the fiddle with some devil in disguise. So go home, lady. Pray to God he'll save me. I will never take you back. Won't ever want you back. Just move on, baby. You can call me crazy.
Yeah, so that's basically the final round of production. Like, we were both really happy with all the different elements, how the song gelled. That's one thing that throughout this process we're always working on and refining is making sure that each section has a point of difference or feels a bit different. So the song's always growing or, you know, moving and taking you on a bit of a journey just so it doesn't sound static. And you can do a lot of that stuff in mixing as well, which maybe I'll do another video on mixing, but also there's so many videos on mixing online, so you might not need to see me do it. But yeah, and then I sent him this, and we both decided, like, mate, this is killer. Let's move on to the mixing phase. Now, one thing is that when we are in the mixing phase, we don't really like to start changing with production stuff. It gets confusing, it gets messy in your head, and changing tones and adding things. It doesn't really work as well. We still can do it, like if we've messed something up or if you really don't like something that you liked a week ago or whatever. But generally speaking, the production is one stage and then the mixing is another separate stage. But, you know, hopefully by the time we get to round 3 of production, we're both like, this is great. We've had a lot of time to think about it. I think in total this was maybe 2 weeks. The timing really depends on, you know, how long it takes for revisions to come back, how much we need to change, all that kind of stuff. Could be faster, could be slower. You know, it depends on the type of song. If it's just a guitar and vocals, then probably a little bit faster. But, you know, there's no rush, really, unless there's a rush on your end, in which case we can be faster. But I find the creative process is the best when you can take your time. You know, when you listen to something, give it a day or two, listen to it again, see how you actually feel about it. You know, like it's important to feel solid in your choices and your decisions as you go. And when you're trying to rush them, it's hard to feel solid on that stuff. Yeah, okay, cool. That is what producing a song with Real Job Records is like. Again, Tony was advanced in his production and songwriting, so he was using Logic and everything, and had already, figured out the bass lines and stuff like that, which we did change a bit. But what I'm getting at is that you don't need to have that. It's cool if you do, but the process would be very similar if you just had, a voice note from your phone or a video recording of you, playing guitar and playing and singing along or whatever. Ideally, you can record vocals at home. If you've got your own setup, then that's awesome. There's a lot we can do to make home vocals sound real pro and sound real nice. If you don't worry. We can definitely help you find somewhere in your area to record your vocals. Obviously, that's the one thing that we can't do remotely. Everything else we can. I can do pretty much anything with software stuff, but if you wanted specific, if you wanted a real cello or whatever, we can do that as well because we have a roster of a bunch of awesome musicians from all around the world who can record whatever you might need. But yeah, vocals is the only thing. We can do backing vocals for sure. I love singing backing vocals, and I do that on tracks all the time. But for your own voice, we can help you find someone, find you a good deal. We can even be there remotely via Zoom if that was something that's an option. So there's nothing to freak out about. We can really meet you wherever you are and make killer music, make sick tracks. All right, thanks for watching. Hope this all makes sense. Flick us a comment or a message if you have any questions, or if you want us to look at your track and maybe give you some ideas or options of how we could move forward. I feel like I've been rambling on. What year is it? Anyway, thanks for watching again. Look after yourself.